I think I finally figured out how to be popular with the ladies. All I gotta do is be stoic, emotionless, and completely derived of any sort of personality. Once I do all that, the girls will just come flocking towards me. And so, from here on out, I'll be acting like this for all of my videos. That way, I'll become an instant chick magnet. Yippee. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy back with another anime review. This time I'll be reviewing the anime The Fruit of Grisaia, or Grisaia? I don't know how to pronounce that last one, but that anime right there. So The Fruit of Grisaia follows Yuji Kazumi, a young man and secret soldier who decides that he wants to start living a normal high school student's life and begins attending Mihama Academy, a large private school with a population of 5 students. Not including Yuji himself. You heard me right. 5 friggin' students. 5 girls, to be precise. A wannabe tsundere, a weird lolly with a dad complex, a voluptuous and kinky pair of tits, a semi-normal one that wears a maid outfit, and finally, a defensive, volatile kudere. And from here, Yuji bonds with these 5 girls, gets to know them, learns about their tragic past that led them to attend the school, deal with many trials and tribulations, as well as uncover the truth of Yuji's past. Gee, I wonder who sent me this anime. Oh, it's the same guy? Well, I didn't see that one coming. Sarcasm aside though, this was yet another anime graciously sent to me by Dizzy378 and was next in line for anime that you all voted for me to watch and review. And I gotta be quite honest, I never heard of The Fruit of Grisaia, however you want to pronounce it. The anime never really made clear how it's pronounced because they never said the goddamn title in the anime, so I didn't know how it sounded phonetically. I had to pronounce it for myself. But regardless, I never heard of this anime, and when I did more research on the anime, I wasn't all that impressed. I prepared myself for the worst. And so I saw the first season, the movie, and the second season, and what did I think about it? Well, let's get into it. First, let's get these out of the way. The animation, music, and voice acting were serviceable in this anime. Nothing too impressive, but they got the job done. What we really need to focus on are the 2 crucial elements that will make or break a movie, anime, or TV show. And that is, of course, the story and the characters. The story here actually surprised me. It wasn't what I was expecting. After seeing the first episode and what the setup of the series was going to be, I thought I had this entire anime figured out. I said to myself, oh, so it's basically another conventional rom-com with 5 blanket love interests who all fall head over heels for a stoic, emotionless, OP, badass main character. Business as usual, as if we haven't seen that before. In fact, at the beginning, this anime actually scared me because it reminded me so much of the irregular at Magic High School, primarily because of their main characters, as Yuji looks, acts, and kind of sounds very similar to that other guy from Irregular at Magic High School. I don't remember his name. I don't care to remember his name. But yeah, he reminded me so much of that character. And many of the scenarios reminded me so much of the Irregular at Magic High School. Fortunately for us, The Fruit of Grisaia is nothing like the Irregular at Magic High School, as its story is much more enthralling, much more deeper, and gets pretty damn dark. It was a complete 180 from what I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be a really fun, cheerful type anime, but my goodness, do they touch upon a lot of dark subject matter. The story explores most of the characters' backstories, highlighting the pain, suffering, heartbreak, and torment that they have endured over the years. It was quite impactful and very emotional. The best ones, in my opinion, and without giving too much away, were Michiru's, who went through a traumatic experience with a friend and fears loss, and Amane, who was in a terrible accident which left her and a few others in an extremely dire situation. Amane's in particular was the most intense and completely wrecked me. It was quite possibly the most heart-wrenching and horrifying of all the backstories. But I think the anime story truly excelled in its movie special and its second season, mostly because it primarily focused on shining a light on Yuji's backstory, giving us a lot of detail and insight to the character and completely destroying the stoic, bland, hollow, emotionless OP lead that I thought they were going to do with this character. It was truly impressive. Also, the story in the second season had a pretty exciting second half following the girls as they all worked together and planned a rescue mission. It was so much fun seeing the girls working and interacting with each other, which we didn't really get to see in the first season. And next we have the characters, who I won't lie were a bit of a hard sell at first as I didn't find them all that interesting or worthwhile, but they gradually grew on me as the series went on, and as I saw their backstories and the bonds that they were forming with each other, they became quite dynamic to me. As stated previously, most of the characters' backstories are explored in the anime, giving us a lot of insight on them and making them more three-dimensional and having more depth to them, as well as being fascinating and quite likable. I was so elated to see Yuji completely buck the stoic OP main character type, as that type of character is terrible, uninteresting, not fun to watch, and needs to be buried immediately. He, on the other hand, is a complex character who's had quite the complicated and tumultuous upbringing, and that's just putting it lightly. I mean, to talk about all the shit that he went through in his life, oh my goodness. It makes so much sense why when you first see the character, he comes off as an emotionless character. I mean, after going through all the things he went through, it's a surprise that he even has any emotions left. You really empathize with this character. You understand the turmoil that he's going through, and you root for him. And he also forms really strong bonds with many of the characters in this anime. As for the 5 maidens, all of them were well developed, each got their own moment to shine in the anime, and they did serve a purpose to the plot and other characters. But if I'm to be completely honest with you guys, which I always am, I only truly cared about and remembered 3 of the girls, and they were Michiru, Amane, and Yumiko. Yumiko being the standout out of all 5 of the girls, and I'll explain. Out of all of the characters in this anime that are primarily women, Yumiko is the only one that wasn't immediately fond of the main character Yuji. All the other girls, they immediately liked Yuji. Whether they liked him in a romantic way or in a platonic way, they liked him. She was the only one that was like, no, I don't like him, I don't care for him, I hate him, stay away. And you actually see them forming a bond with each other. You actually see them progress in their relationship, starting off as something that was very mean and cold and distant to something that becomes more nurturing and kind and sweet. I just like their relationship out of all the other relationships in this anime because it's actually something that wasn't just given to Yuji. It's something that he had to earn. Unlike all the other girls who just kind of threw themselves onto Yuji, he had to earn Yumiko's respect and therefore her love, and that's what made her the most interesting in my opinion. Other great characters include Asako, Yuji's master and guardian, who molded him into the badass that he is today, and whom he formed a really strong bond and connection with over the years. JB, Yuji's sort of boss in the anime, who assists him time and time again and flirts with him on occasion. And finally, Kazuki, a character who's awesome in her own right and does a lot of cool things throughout the anime, but the one thing I just didn't like about the character was the incestuous vibe between her and Yuji. I mean, is this just a thing now with modern day harems? Like, if you're gonna make a harem anime, you have to include the sister as part of the harem? I mean, do we really have to resort to that shit? And finally, the climax for both seasons were fantastic. The first being a hostage situation with a pretty riveting sniper moment, and the second being a rescue mission with a pretty thrilling and kick-ass final confrontation. But unfortunately, I do have a couple issues with the Fruit of Grisaia, most of them coming from season 1, which is the weakest season in my opinion. One of, if not the biggest issue I found with season 1 pertains to the girls' individual stories. Besides Michiru's and Amane's, all the other ones were lackluster, uninteresting, and poorly executed. This includes Makina's, Sachi's, and worst of all, my favorite girl in the entire anime, Yumiko's. Let's start with Yumiko's story, shall we? Now, I won't lie, the episode that primarily focuses on Yumiko and her backstory started off really well. In fact, 2/3 of it was really well handled, and it actually does something that I did not expect, and I thought, wow, that's pretty daring, anime. Although I have a sneaky suspicion that you're gonna cop out, totally renege on it, and sure enough, they do. The ending to this episode completely negated everything that came before it, and it ruined the episode. As for Sachi's episode, that episode just didn't make any sense. And yeah, sure, her backstory is well told and very emotional. I'm not gonna deny that. In fact, her backstory is probably the best thing about her episode. But everything else prior to the backstory, the story leading up to the backstory, has no real purpose, no real connection or correlation to Sachi's backstory, which I found very perplexing because all the other girls' episodes had stories in them that does connect or correlate to the girls' backstory. From Yumiko to Amane, Michiro, even Makina's story connects back to her backstory. With Sachi, her backstory is about how her family kind of neglected her, or they were too busy to spend time with her, so she started hanging out with Yuji at the park, and then her birthday showed up and something tragic happened on her birthday. So you would think that the story leading up to the backstory would have some sort of correlation to that, but no, it's an entirely different story about how Sachi starts planting bombs in the school so they can avoid taking a test the next day. And I'm like, well, how does that connect to the backstory? That makes no sense. What? But I think the episodes that I disliked the most were Makina's episodes, as they weren't that interesting, weren't that engaging, and were freaking weird and bizarre. Her entire story is about how she asked Yuji to be her new father and how they have to uncover all these other things. Honestly, I don't really remember much from their story, but I do remember there comes a point where they're on the run from the law, I think. But honestly, I didn't care for her story. Yeah, her backstory is a bit tragic and it's sort of well told, but again, I just never felt the weight of it and I didn't care. I honestly didn't care for her story and I don't care for the character. She is the weakest of the five. She's the one character I couldn't stand. Not only because of her weird personality, but because of her voice too. It sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Not only that, but one of the weirdest scenes in the entire anime is where she like jumps on Yuji and then begins kissing him while calling him Papa, and Yuji's like, what the hell are you doing? And she's like, oh, there's nothing wrong about a daughter showing her affection for her father by kissing him in the lips. And then Yuji accidentally cops a feel, and then she has the audacity to say, oh, Papa, you perv. I'm like, you want to talk? This next one's an issue I found with the second season. And that's the fact that they do this really overly complicated and equally convoluted thing in order to bring a character back into the series. And while I will admit that it was pretty cool and interesting to see it at first, when I actually sat back and thought about it, I asked myself one really simple and important question. Was it entirely necessary to do all of that in order to bring this character back into the fold? And the answer is no. You could have easily have brought the character back, plain and simple, and it would have been the same. But no, they had to go through all these leaps and bounds and throw in all this scientific mumbo jumbo to make it seem all cool and interesting, but at the same time, it just seems totally unnecessary and completely bloated. And at the same time, too, it doesn't make sense for them to do all of this if this character is still around. And yeah, I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but I have to point this out as a glaring issue with this anime. And that's the fact that, yes, I did not like the incestuous relationship between Yuji and his big sister Kazuki. Mostly for the fact that it's completely superfluous to the entire anime. What purpose does it serve to the story or to the characters? None whatsoever. If you were to remove this incestuous element, nothing about the anime would ever change. I guarantee it. In fact, it kind of upset me that they took this incestuous relationship route, as they already established an interesting relationship between Kazuki and another character, and I wish that they were gonna be a couple. They could have formed a stronger bond instead of resorting to this tired old cliche of two siblings falling head over heels in love with each other. But overall, guys, besides the few glaring issues here and there, I thoroughly enjoyed watching The Fruit of Grisaia. It's a really well-made anime, has a lot of good story elements in it, and does have a rather satisfying conclusion. And that's why I'm gonna say that the anime is definitely worth watching. Go check it out. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to The Fruit of Grisaia, or Grisaia, however you want to pronounce it. I would love to know what you guys thought about this anime as well. Did you absolutely adore it? Is it one of your favorite animes to watch? Or did you find it really boring, dull, and you couldn't get into it? And let me know, who is your favorite male lead in a harem anime? Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. I am planning on watching and reviewing a very special anime movie you all have been asking me to watch and review. In fact, I watched a little bit of it, but wasn't able to complete it, so I'm gonna try and complete it now, and then hopefully have a review out real soon. So stay tuned to this channel to see that review coming your way real soon. And if you'd like to support the Black Critic Guy just a smidge more, why not donate to my Patreon account? Link is in the description. And if you'd like to send me any fan letter, just send it to this P.O. box right up here. And if you'd like to be a part of the Black Critic crew and not miss out on a single awesome video on this channel, hit that subscribe button below, like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm talking about in a second, the handsome, stoic male lead known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.